Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. So, something happened that's quite interesting. Um, Joe Biden was caught on a leaked recording getting very mad with progressives and basically telling black activists to shut the hell up. Now, before people think that this is out of context, I'll provide a link below. It comes from a leaked, I'm assuming, Zoom meeting with Biden and civil rights leaders. And this was reported on by a reporter for The Intercept. I'll provide the links down below. I think it's from the Disconnected podcast or Dispatch. But in any case, this is telling for a number of reasons. First off, it shows Biden for the neoliberal ghoul that he is and that all leftists correctly had him pegged for. But it's also really terrible in the sense of people expected better from, this new president. And yet some of what he says when he rants and says, no one's done more in the time that we've had than me, okay? And it sounds very Trumpian. It's weird how Trumpian he sounds. And then on top of that, there's the fact that Biden at one point had said, it's not about one person, it's about us. You helped deliver this win, so I'm going to be there for you. And yet already here he is saying, no, no, no. And the reason why has to do with Georgia and this continuing Democratic belief. So what he was getting mad about was he didn't want to give in to progressive demands that he use executive action and just do a whole bunch of things. And to an extent, he's somewhat right to caution against using executive action prolifically, because then the next person could come along, do even worse things, and undo a lot of what he did via executive action. So that is the case, but it all seemed to revolve around this argument that the Democrats got hammered by Republicans because they thought that they had this really effective message of saying Democrats are for defunding the police. And Biden's there saying in this recording, we're not about defund the police, we're about reforming the institutions. But the Republicans had really effective messaging, and so they just hammered us on this. And that's why we should wait for any kind of executive action or meaningful change or reform or anything like that until after January 5th, which I think is the date that the Georgia runoff elections are happening. Now I get it, right? It's about playing politics and seeing the bigger picture and being politically astute. The problem is that the Dems are still believing the wrong things. Republicans didn't hammer Democrats because of defund the police. Democrats hammered themselves by showing that they don't have proper cohesion in the party and that they're not willing to support meaningful policies that will make people's lives better. There's no talk of policy. There's no talk of basically separating themselves from Republicans. And even in this clip, Biden keeps sort of talking about how, we don't want to alienate voters being Republicans in this case. And that's why Georgia's crucial for them. They think they have to win a bunch of Republicans over to the cause. But guess what? That didn't happen in the election. Why do you think it's going to happen here and now? Democrats need to stop believing that victory will come by campaigning to the right for Republicans. I've touched on this before, but it bears repeating again. Republicans will vote for Republicans and only for a Democrat in the truly direst of any possible instances, which is how a few voted for Biden this past election. But not enough in the numbers that they needed for the proper initial landslide to prevent all this contested crap that's happening right now. And so here they are once again thinking that, they got hammered because of defund the police, and not the fact that many Democrats, especially progressives who endorsed a Green New Deal, Medicare for all, and defunding the police, those Democrats often won their races in the election. Democrats need to take a long, hard look at themselves in the mirror, but it's clear that's not going to happen. They assume, well, we have victory now, so it's fine, and if we win Georgia, that'll be great. And yet their strategy for victory in Georgia is the same thing that barely got them a win on the national level. Democrats need to just really support some big, proper policies, especially right now with the pandemic raging and millions of Americans suffering, at risk of eviction, starving as it comes close to Christmas time and Thanksgiving that was recent. It is just not a good scene, and they need something more than typical political platitudes. It's just so frustrating to see, once again, before he's even in the White House, Biden talking like Trump with the whole, look, no one's done more about this than me, okay? I hate that. So there's that. Then there's the fact that he's telling civil rights leaders to shut up because he's already done so much. But also because, oh, look, it's not politically viable right now, despite the fact that major civil rights leaders and pushers organized grassroots movements that delivered them Michigan. It also pisses me off that here's Biden thinking that, the strategy that didn't really work for them this past election is somehow going to win them Georgia and get them seats. I hope they do get the seats, because Democrats are still a better alternative than Republicans, but that really isn't saying much at this point, and that's a goddamn problem. Right here, again, we have, a pompous old man out of touch with reality who is once again telling minorities to shut up, sit down, and know their place. Both of these parties are terrible. It is high time for proper grassroots movements. And if you want to know how to get sort of staying power with the Black Lives Matter movement and defund the police, there's two places you can look to. You can look to the quote-unquote ground zero, that is Minneapolis, and what they've done in the wake of the George Floyd protests and what they've done to try and address public concerns. There's also the Black Lives Matter movement in Michigan, and the greater Detroit area specifically, where they seem to have really gotten a knack for having staying power and putting pressure on politicians and locals to actually become engaged and begin addressing the problems of police brutality and funding for the police. So with that, I bid you all a good night. But my God, is this ever just like, I'm so tired of this, I'm so tired of old, arrogant white men telling people what's right and what's wrong as if they know better when they've clearly shown that they don't. And that is what's bothering me today.